All right, well, welcome to Sanctification and Ecclesiology, also known as ST 105. Today, it's syllabus day. We should be able to get through everything unless I get bogged down by a lot of chatty people with lots of questions that are answered in the syllabus. That's kind of the running joke now online. It's in the syllabus. They make t-shirts and everything for it. But it's true. It's true. It's in the syllabus. So we'll do just a little welcome, introduction. Welcome. Okay, I've done the introduction. And then an overview of the course and the syllabus, and then answer any questions that you might have initially, of course. I will give you then my email address at the end. You can follow up with any questions that you might have along the way. I might, not to be snarky, but I might just tell you it's in the syllabus, if that really is true. But I would urge you to read through the syllabus very carefully in the beginning of the semester. We'll walk through it. We won't read every word, but I'll hit the highlights today. So we all at least have a general introduction to the course and know what's coming and what you're responsible for. It's kind of like the course contract, okay? Let's begin with a description of the course. When I am asked or told or volunteer to teach a course, they give you the course description, and that's really all I'm actually obligated to. You're going to get more than just the course description, but you're going to get at least what we cover in this little paragraph. It's from the catalog. It's called Sanctification and Ecclesiology, a study of sanctification, that is, the doctrine of the spiritual life, semicolon. And ecclesiology, the doctrines of the body of Christ and the local church, including its organization, ministry, ordinances, government, and purpose. Now, we will cover other issues to some degree, but most of our time will be spent on these issues that we are telling you that we're actually going to be covering. Now, most people, except me, teach it in the order of the title and the course description, beginning with sanctification and ecclesiology, and I get that. If you take all of these courses in order, from 101 to 106, in numerical order, the previous course is soteriology, ST 104, and then the idea is soteriology naturally flows into sanctification, at least in some people's theology, the way they set it up. I actually reverse it because I think it's best understood in the opposite order. I think soteriology leads into ecclesiology, which leads into sanctification. I'm going to be making that point. At least that's how I'm going to be teaching it. If you don't like it, just reverse it in your own mind, okay? Or go online later after we capture all of this and just watch it in reverse, like the movie Memento. And if that makes more sense to you, that's fine. In reality, the way I understand ecclesiology, the nature, the purpose of the church, that is the gathered community, it is sanctification. The purpose of the church, besides proclamation, yes, evangelism, is ultimately discipleship, the one another's spiritual growth, edification of the body as it grows itself by the power of the Spirit in love and good works, etc. So we'll talk about that. But I think really, by the time we are, just a few lectures into ecclesiology, we are, whether you know it or not, already talking about sanctification and the means that God has provided for our spiritual growth in community. The other thing is you're going to notice, and I'm going to apologize in advance. By apologizing in advance, it completely excuses you for everything that's coming. You know how that works. I'm going to apologize in advance for what some people say is a fairly cursory or shallow treatment of sanctification. I deal with soteriology and sanctification, some of the theological background. What people are hoping sometimes to get is a prescription or some sort of method on how they can be sanctified. If you're coming into this class looking for that key to solving all of your sin problems that you've been wrestling with for the last 10 years, this is not the class for you. In fact, it's probably not the religion for you, as we will see. The Christian life is always a struggle, but we have hope. 106, eschatology. The struggle does come to an end. But the reality is sanctification, spiritual growth, means and methods, the practical outworking of that. I try not to cover the same ground that other courses in the required curriculum is going to be covering as well. So ST 104 actually does cover some on sanctification a little bit. There's a connection there. PM 105, Christian Life and Witness, and SF, the Spiritual Formation series. Now again, from different angles, with different purposes. possibly even different views, different methods. You're all big boys and girls, though, and this is graduate school. You can handle different perspectives from different professors. My assumption is you're going to be covering some of the same material from a number of angles from different courses and different departments and different professors. So you'll get my angle, but I'm trying to supplement rather than supplant what other people are doing in the curriculum. Make sense? There. Now I can do whatever I want, of course, right? All right. So pull out your syllabus, and we are going to talk about the objectives. Quick question at first. How many of you are Master of Arts in Biblical Counseling, MABC students, who are taking this course under the new curriculum revision for 2 credits? Raise your hand. You should know who you are. All right. Most of you MABC students are still kind of under the old catalog and taking it for 3. So, for you who know who you are, taking it for 2 credits, we will be very clear what things you don't have to do. Everybody else, you do everything in the syllabus. If you have a number 3 in your course schedule and you're taking this for 3 credits, regardless of what your program is, you do everything. If you know for a fact you're taking it just for 2 credits, then you'll see what we have to do. I'll flag that for you. I have to go through both options, though, because this will be recorded and broadcast for several years. Okay, so objective number 1, this is for all of us. Okay, we are to understand essential theological terms, concepts, and key biblical passages related to sanctification and ecclesiology. It's more the cognitive objectives here. We will assess this, get ready to cheer, with a final objective exam. Yay, yes, the front row, see? They're the ones who are the first to go over the roller coaster drop off there. So the final objective exam, 25 questions, all multiple choice, purely objective, meaning you don't have to fill in blanks and come up with things in your own words. Automatically graded online. We'll come back to that. You will articulate the Orthodox, Protestant, Evangelical doctrines of sanctification and ecclesiology accurately and succinctly, I hope. And the assessment on this is going to be section 1, called the brief statement of the doctrinal synthesis paper, which we'll come back to. The doctrinal synthesis paper and the final objective exam are going to be the assessment tools for the primary course objectives, okay? Third, explain your doctrinal convictions regarding sanctification and ecclesiology with biblical, theological, and historical support. This will be in section 2, which is going to be more, you might have some more denominational, traditional, church, unique views on sanctification and ecclesiology. Maybe you're a Methodist. Maybe you are a Baptist. Maybe you are something else, right? Maybe you're a Bible church and you don't know what you are. Bible churches are, most Bible churches are just kind of Baptist wannabes, frankly. That's my tradition. I'm a Bible church, kind of non-denominational church. I'm not proud of it, but that's what I am. Okay, so section 2, the exposition. This is the doctrinal synthesis paper, the second part where you're going to get into maybe more your doctrinal distinctives. We'll come back to this again and fill it in the details. You also relate the doctrines of sanctification and ecclesiology to your life and ministry, more the application and implication aspects of this course, and that will be done in section 3 of the doctrinal synthesis paper. Now, how many of you have done this already, maybe last semester or during the summer, the doctrinal synthesis papers in 101 through 104? Okay. It's basically the same assignment in every course, and everybody does it. Now, what if you're a 2-hour student? Yes, you do this too, and you take the final exam. Then we have additional objectives. If you're taking this for 3 hours, that is almost everybody. You're going to construct a basic biblical model of an ideal local church, which doesn't exist in reality. Okay? An ideal local church ecclesiology that is biblically, theologically, historically, and practically defensible. And you're going to evaluate your church home in light of that. It's an exercise, okay? It's an exercise of, if it was still Genesis 2, and God planted His church, in the garden. Here's what it would look like. Okay, so and then everything else looks horrible compared to that, but that's okay. At least you have this ideal model. The whole course is going to be setting up this model that you can use for the rest of your ministry to kind of evaluate where your church and ministry is. And at least then, when you have the freedom and the authority, whenever you'll have that, I don't know, to actually make changes, you have a direction where you can toward which you can nudge things, okay? So in this case, you'll then assess your church in this church evaluation paper assessing positives and negatives. We'll fill in details on that. So constructing and evaluating a standard, and then evaluating your current church, or the church with which, frankly, I don't care what church you evaluate. You can evaluate a church you've never been to if you want, but chances are you'll know more about your home church or the church you're involved in ministry. That's the whole thing. It's the exercise that matters here. Okay. Also, critically and constructively appraise various perspectives on contemporary practical issues in ecclesiology sanctification. And 3-hour students, you'll be doing that in 3 position papers, which we'll get to in a moment. Questions about just the objectives? Okay, that's it. That's what we're going to hope. That's what I'm hoping to accomplish. All right. As far as reading, which is intended to provide background details, also I try to pick books when I assign books that I would or did want in my library and have used over the years and have gone back to. One thing that really irritated me in seminary was when I would get these cheap trade paperback throwaway books that were good for the course, and then I never opened them ever again. I have two or three shelves covered with books like that. So I try to assign books that will be good members of your library, good, faithful members of your library. And this is one of them, Clowney the Church. This is a book written from a pretty distinctly covenant reform perspective on ecclesiology. So you're going to get that angle. It is the only covenant reform perspective that you're going to get explicitly in this course. The other ones are going to be either my perspective or somebody a little bit closer to our kind of tradition. And so at least you'll be able to see how they put things together. For the most part, you're not going to have any problem with a lot of it. Some of it, it's going to, maybe if that's not your tradition, you're going to see some differences between what you're getting in class and some of the other readings. But again, the assumption is you're big boys and girls, and part of the goal here is to expose you to some different ideas. Mm-hmm. Plus, it's a good book. Some people complain about Clowney, and I've read through it several times. I don't see what's wrong with it. It's not any more difficult to read than any other book you're assigned, but I'm convinced it's the grade of the paper and the font. It's a very heavy font, and it feels laborious. It just feels laborious. There's something to that, as those of you who might be graphic designers or whatever, you know that. I think it's totally in your mind. So imagine a real light, sans serif font, and take your glasses off, let the edges blur a little bit, and it'll feel easier to read.
So what you're saying is get the Kindle version.
Get the Kindle version, right. Wait, what page is that? Wait, location? Wait. It's about halfway through it. Don't ever cite your papers like, Clowney, Kindle version, halfway through. Second, Retro Christianity. I wrote this book for this course. Please don't tell the publisher that. This is why they can't sell any copies. No, I instead of writing notes for the course, I did the book. So the book was written for this course. I'm not simply trying to pawn off on you, some book that I couldn't sell in any other context. No, it's okay. So you'll be reading that according to the course schedule. You'll see a lot of overlap reinforcing the stuff that you're getting in the class. And I agree, generally speaking, you can say I don't agree with everything in every book that I'm going to assign. You cannot expect someone to do that. And except for things I've written in the last year. Chances are, though, after a few years, I start to modify or nuance or tweak some of my positions. But I think for the most part, this is still fresh. Then you're going to read part 1 of volume 3. You're going to read that fairly early in the semester because the idea is it is a gap filler. I want us to come to class assuming a certain basic orientation to the course content. And that's actually, now we were honest with the publishers on this. We wrote these to be primers for these 6 courses. You'll notice we have 6 courses in theology, and each volume covers the 2 theology courses in parts 1 and part 2. And so they knew that. They just felt it would have a broader appeal, which it has. It's actually been fairly helpful. So Exploring Christian Theology, this part was written by Holstein, Nathan Holstein, on ecclesiology sanctification. So for this course, you only have to read part 1. You'll read part 2 in eschatology if you haven't had eschatology already. If you've already had eschatology, you should already have the book. And then you just go back, pull it off your shelf, read part 1. Then you'll read the Bible. In my theology classes, I have students read books of the Bible. If you are reading any of these books of the Bible for any other classes, you don't have to read them again for this class. I don't see any logic in that. I don't see any reason to make you, well, I read this for my epistles class, but, got a box to check. No, you've fulfilled the obligation. Now, you can read it. You should be reading these things more than one time in your life. But in one semester, you're very, very busy. But as you're reading, read it for the purpose of what are these things teaching us about ecclesiology? What are some significant passages here? These are the books that we're going to be constantly going to in our discussion during the semester. So I want you to be familiar with the basic content of these. And then you'll be reading several essays that I put on this website, retrochristianity.com or .org. The links are in the syllabus. They're also on the Canvas page. They should still be all hot. You should be able to click them and they'll take you through to the essay. If there are any broken links, let me know. We'll try to fix them. But they're not hard to find just by searching for the title. The website is basically a depository for essays for classes and such, so I can direct people to them. Okay, so that's for everybody. Whether you're 2 or 3 hour students, you have to do all of this reading. Additional reading just for 3 hour students, which is most of you. You're also going to be reading Allison's Sojourners and Strangers, and it's a great book from the Crossway series. I think many of you have read Demarest for ST104, same series, and this is the one on the church. So Greg Allison from Southern Seminary, he is I don't know, I have to ask him. I think he would describe himself as somewhere in the dispensational realm, maybe in the suburbs. I don't know. I'll ask him and come back to you. But you'll see a lot that sounds familiar, and it is a Baptist-ish ecclesiology. He's friendly to he is a Baptist. It's friendly to the Baptists. I find a lot that I can agree with here. Not everything, but it's a helpful perspective. So with Retro, you'll get my perspective on some things. You'll get Allison on this angle, and you'll get the Covenant Reformed, and you'll have a good, I think a good orientation to several different views on certain issues. And then you'll only read one extra essay. Can an ecclesiology be biblical if it's not apostolic? So that's available on Canvas under the files. Just find it, click on it, read it. It's only about 14, 15 pages long. Questions about readings? Any clarifications necessary? If you've read these books in Bible college or for some other course or just in your free time at one point, reorient yourself to them. Again, if you read it during the summer or whatever, I would ask you to just kind of flip through, spend a little time to refresh your memory of what the content is. I'm not going to make you reread something you've already read, as long as you can refresh your memory so you come into class. And the whole purpose of this is everything is supposed to kind of reinforce everything else through repetition, through emphasis, through going into more detail. Hopefully that's the outcome. This is the best way to reach me, msviegel@dts.edu. Contact me day or night. Now listen, I get probably a couple hundred emails a day, most of it rubbish, just rubbish. But sometimes your little nugget of gold gets stuck in the fool's gold of emails. And my goal, if I get an email from a student that expects an answer, sometimes I'll get, oh, hey, Prof, in light of this class today, this lecture, here's this video by so-and-so, you know, do you believe this? I think that's more like a FYI thing. I'm probably not going to put that at the top of our list to respond. Yeah, crazy, huh? Just, I get it. I'll look and, you know. But, so if you ask a question or want clarification, you know, say, is this due on that day? Look in the syllabus. Or whatever the question may be. I'm sorry, I'm going to miss class. Could you pray for me? If you don't hear back from me within 24 hours, feel free to resend the email. Okay? What happens sometimes is you'll send me something and I'll see it while I'm walking to my car, you know, and looking at Twitter or Facebook or something, and I'll say, oh, I have to respond to, you know, their question. I'll get in my car and drive home, and then, you know, all, you know what, breaks loose at home, and then, you know, 17, 18, 27, 95 more emails have buried yours. And even though my intention was to respond, it just doesn't happen. So you will not irritate me if you re-email reminding me to answer an email for which you expected an answer, okay? Do that. Do you and me a favor and hold me to that. As far as coming to see me personally, it's